All right, go ahead, Christina.
Okay, thanks, Kim. Well, welcome everyone. It's noon and it's our first partner connection that we're doing Zoom in the new year. We thought it would be great to do a partner connection focusing on self-care. So today we have Haley Cooper, and I believe everyone's already received their self-care plan. So we'll be doing that with her today. I'm going to let her introduce herself, but just a little bit about me. I am the Partner Engagement Chair here at Impact Giving. So if anyone has questions about Impact Giving, or I can answer any questions, I'm going to include my email in the chat, and please feel free to reach out to me. But I have been a partner at Impact Giving for 3 years now, and it's just been a wonderful experience. My cousin Karen introduced me to Impact Giving, gosh, 3 years ago almost. And I guess I just continue to be impressed with the impact that we can have on so many different organizations here locally and globally. So with that, welcome. I'm so happy to see everyone. And I will turn it over to Haley and let her introduce herself, and we can get started.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Christina and Kim, for having me, and for Tanya for introducing me to Christina. It's been such a joy to get to know you ladies, and I hope I get to know more as I'm a new junior partner of Impact Giving and joining the grant committee. So before we start, I'm sure you have all rushed here, and you've probably come from different Zoom meetings now that we're virtual in the midst of COVID again and again. And so first of all, I just want you to take a deep breath. I don't know what your day has been like. I don't know what your week has been like, but I want you to take a deep breath. So let's take one big inhale and let it go. Just let go whatever has come before this and whatever is to come afterwards. And I also just want you to, I know this gets a little funky, we're just going to shake it off. You know, one of the things, I've done this visualization thing, and I always see myself as dancing and like shaking off my day. So you can have your video on, you can have it off, but you know, you just gotta shake it off. You just gotta shake off whatever came before and whatever is coming afterwards. So whatever movement feels good for you, just, you know, bring it back to the present, bring it back to the present moment. And I then want you to write down, because 3 things that you are grateful for. I'm going to give you a minute or two to write down right now 3 things you're grateful for, because I have seen that gratitude can change your perspective. It can change anything that you're going through, to be more grateful and add this practice of gratitude into your daily life. So I'm going to just give you a minute, and if you feel called to, you can always put it in that box. All right. And lastly, before we get in, I want you to say, I am worth it, because you are worth self-care. You can turn your volume, you can mute yourself, you can unmute yourself, but I think we should all collectively say we are worth it. You are all part of Impact Giving, and if you're not, Christina's probably going to pitch it to you at the end. But if you're here, it's because you are a group of like-minded women who love to serve. And so often as women, we are nurturers, we serve and we serve and we serve, but we often don't fill up our same cup, and we don't think we're worth self-care. So please know that you are worth it. You pour so much love and care into your community and your family, and you deserve the same love and care for yourself. Remember that before we get started, that self-care isn't selfish, and it's not another added to do. So as I go through this, I don't want you to think it's just another thing that you have to add to your to-do list. We already have so much going on. We serve in so many different capacities along working. And if you're a mother to children or a dog, or whatever type of mother, there's just a friend, there's a lot going on. So I want you to scream it out. I am worth it. We're going to say it in count of 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3. I am worth it. Awesome. Thank you. All right. So I'll tell you a little bit about me. I have been involved in nonprofits for the last 10 years. I'm a certified fundraising executive. And up until a week ago, I was a director of development at Giving Children Hope. But I resigned from my position to be a full-time mom. I am a certified EMC train the trainer, a certified stress management coach, and I serve in different capacities in the community, which I was just talking to Kim about, because as a full-time mom, I still love to be involved in philanthropy. So I'm excited that I am a new junior partner of Impact Giving and will be joining a grant committee. I'm excited to see it from the other side because I have been a grant writer in the past, so it'll be fun to see how it's been evaluated. I am a founding board member and incoming board president of the Orange County Nonprofit Professionals Network, as well as a board member and DEI chair of the Association of Fundraising Professionals. And then mom of 2 boys under 2 and an adorable husky. So if you're wondering, what is self-care? Why am I here? Why should I care? And why should I show up for myself? Well, taking care of yourself is so important. It's defined as anything you do to make sure you're physically, mentally, and emotionally well. It's so that you can show up for your family, show up for your job, you can help and care for others, and do all the things you need to do and want to accomplish in a day because you are less stressed. If you do not practice regular self-care, you may quite simply burn out, and we'll discuss symptoms and signs of burnout in the next slide. And engaging in self-care has clinically proven to reduce or eliminate anxiety and depression, reduce stress, improve concentration, minimize frustration and anger, increase happiness, improve energy, and more. The risk is too great not to practice self-care for yourself. So we'll go over some signs of overwhelm and burnout. I think so often as women, and also just nowadays, especially in the midst of COVID, and if you're working, there's no boundaries. It's really hard to set boundaries. I know early on when I didn't have kids, I would just work all the time. There was no boundary for me to stop working because I didn't have a reason to. I would maybe stop for dinner to enjoy it with my husband, but then we'd go back to our computers. And we both became very burned out. It was about this past August where my husband would come to me, he's like, I'm sleeping 8 hours a night, or 8 to 10 hours a night, but I'm just so tired. Like I have no motivation. I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm stressed out all the time. And I was like, you're burnt out. Like you've been working so hard for the last 2 years. You've been in isolation. You haven't really had social conversation besides me and our 2-year-old. And so we need that community. We need to be able to take care of ourselves. So I also think burnout is normalized, but we kind of need to call it out, and we need to change the way that we show up and not make it normalized, and take care of ourselves so that we can help prevent burnout. And it is a serious issue that we all face. And I was asked this, what is burnout, on a podcast recently, and I had to look up the actual definition to verify that I was saying what it was correct. It's the state of emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion caused by excessive and prolonged stress. And I don't know about you, but I was telling Kim this, that my self-care routine the last couple weeks has been off. Generally in January, I'm like on it. I'm like, I have my New Year's resolutions, but the holidays are stressful. And especially when you can't really see family, you have to isolate and quarantine and all of that. It just isn't the same, and it can lead to burnout. And so I think it's so important now in the new year to reflect on what brings you stress, reflect on the signs of burnout, and then develop a plan to prevent it in the future. So you all have in your self-care plan, if you printed it out, I want you to this is what I call the wheel of life. There's each area that balances your life. And so I want you to take a moment right now to look, and if you've printed it out or you can write it on a separate piece of paper, one of the things we're going to do right now, and I was telling Kim and Christina, is that we're going to write our self-care plan out. Because if you don't do it now, you're not going to do it later. We're going to run to the next meeting and we're going to forget. But I want a plan on your desk or a piece of paper that's going to scream out at you to take care of yourself. So I want you to take a minute to look at each of these areas and evaluate how you're doing on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 being you kind of let it go, 10 being you're doing excellent at it. So yeah, just take a minute to reflect and you can write in the boxes the number and how you're doing in each area. It's fun, recreational, hobbies, spiritual, and spiritual isn't necessarily religious, but it can be. Each person's spirituality is different. Finances, business, health, family, and friends. All right. So after you've taken, or if you need a little bit more time, taken the deep inventory of how you're doing in each of these areas, I want you to write down 1 to 3 goals that you would like to achieve in each of the categories. So for me, spiritual is to meditate every day. Finances is to stop spending money at Starbucks and save that $5 instead. Make coffee at home. Business is to continue to do professional development and build out a coaching program. Health is to exercise and get more sleep, although I have a 4-month-old at home, so hopefully he'll be sleeping through the night soon. Family and friends is to reach out to family. And then fun, recreational, and hobbies is to do more of what I love, do something that excites me. So those are just examples. I'll give it just a few more seconds. And I feel like I should have prepared music for this because if you're like me, I hate silence. But, it's all good. So once you're done with that, we can't achieve all of these. Something's got to give. I love that Kim calls it work-life integration instead of balance because yes, this is a happy life is a balanced life, but I don't think we can ever be in perfect balance. So I want you to choose 1 to 3 of these areas that you would like to focus on this quarter. And you can chat it, you can put it in the chat box if you feel so called to share with others, because later on you will have a section where we will introduce ourselves and find an accountability partner. It can be in this group, especially because we're all a part of Impact Giving, or it can be someone that you hold close within your network. For me, my main focuses, like I said, are finances, business, and fun, recreational, and hobbies. Going to Arrowhead last week was my first time out of my house in 5 months. So I need to plan more fun, safe fun in my life.
How far are you from the village?
About 10 minutes. My parents live in Hamilton. It's near Blue Jay.
Okay.
So on the other side, I think, yeah. Thank you for sharing, Mel. Bike or walk daily? Does anyone else want to, instead of in the chat box, Kim had a good idea that we could share it out loud.
So I'll share one of mine. So mine comes under fun recreational hobbies. And I stopped doing New Year's resolutions because I just felt bad about them because invariably I wouldn't do them. So I try to pick a word every year to live into. And I think this year's word is going to be growth. And so I'm going to pick like something new to do every month, just to try. It doesn't have to be like a huge thing. This month it's going to be some exercise kind of area thing, but I don't know, it might be finding a new hiking path. Who knows? But so that's going to help to inspire me to do more in the fun recreational hobbies, because yes, we've all been trapped.
I love that.
Thanks.
I'm the same, Kim. I feel like I had my set fun recreational activities we would do before COVID. And when I did this whole list, I realized how low that was because we haven't done a lot of fun stuff recently. But that's something I want to do too, finding things that I can do to adapt that are fun and recreational hobbies that we can do in this new, reality that we've been living in for a while.
Mm-hmm.
I'll share. I usually start every year. I was fortunate. One of the things I did learn in some of the NABO functions that I've attended in the past were the SMART goals. It's kind of like a template where you identify what I do is it's like your top 5 goals, but I do it for personal and professional. And so I was really diligent about doing it every year. And then the last couple of years of a business group I'm in, they just weren't very accountable. So I kind of, didn't do it as well as I had in the past. And so I've kind of stepped up this year with the whole intention of really working the business side. I've tried to delegate, not delegate, but when you've got salespeople or other people are the voice of your company, I've kind of let them be the forefront where I was in the background. And so I realized that all the investment I made in their personal development, I have those skills too. And it's time for me to get out, which is out of my comfort zone. But to your point about being locked up and working remote, well, I do have a business, and we have been functioning all through COVID. Half my staff are hybrid, half of them are in the office. And since I'm single and have no children, COVID hasn't really impacted my life at all. I'm a very content and solo person, socially, academic, emotionally, whatever. I do have family. I do have a lot of friends. I do have a lot of business groups and philanthropy groups and, things like that I've surrounded myself with. But from the business side this year, I've made it a goal to actually go out and meet face to face with a lot of my vendors, a lot of my customers. My major goal is to be on a speaking panel in my industry as a thought leader, and to actually be a lot more social on social media, and really share my story. I'm 62 years old. Oh, no, I'm not. I'm 64. I read it was 62, but I'm 64, and I'm kind of at this point in my life where I'm just going to go for it. I have nothing to lose. All the other pieces of this puzzle, I'll admit I'm probably a little deficient in the fun and the family, but health, I'm an 8. I've 4 years ago, I had foot surgery. And so since I knew I couldn't shop and cook, I ordered a food service called Zen Food, which is a healthy, organic home delivery food service. 4 years later, I have not stopped it. It has been one of the best investments I've made in my health, my anxiety, just the time management of preparing quality food as a single person. Half the food you bought, you threw out. And half the time I went out, I picked up the tab. So it's really, from a financial analysis standpoint, it was a really great investment, which I'm continuing. However, they don't deliver in Arrowhead. So I kind of have I come up here. My goal is to be here 4 days a week, and in Orange County, 3 days a week. So they've made an arrangement to give me a 4-day kind of program. And then I'm cooking a little bit now on the side.
That's great.
So
Love
health
that.
is, and I also have a personal trainer that I work out with twice a week for many, many years now. And yesterday we just had our first virtual, because I'm in Arrowhead and she's in Huntington Beach. So I was able to, buy an elliptical and have a bench and some weights and a ball and some bands. And we did it like a conference call. So I was really happy to make that adapt to that. And then finances, 8, I just kind of want to update my trust a little bit, but, and then the spiritual, definitely some room for improvement there. But I was raised Catholic. I'm a dysfunctional Catholic, like so many others. But I've really enjoyed embracing the mindfulness. And like I was telling Kim, I attended a mindfulness class at the Susan Samueli Wellness Center. And that was wonderful. So, but yeah, so those are just some of the things that I plan to, work on in 2022.
Thank you so much for sharing, Judy. I love all your goals and your approach to it. And thank you for sharing, your courage to share. Does anyone else want to share? Alita, I love your dance party Friday with your kids. We have regular afternoon dance parties during witching hour. So that's why I love the dancing, the shaking it off. That's what we do every afternoon. And Ted K, good luck. Good luck. Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for sharing in the chat box or over Zoom. We'll move on to what you've all been waiting for, developing your self-care plan. So, like I said in the beginning, you're probably here, you've probably raced this whole week, or you've gotten here and you're just sitting down from the million things you have going on. And you're like, why do I need to do this? Why do I have to add another to-do to my list? I already have so much on my plate. I don't want you to think it like that. I want you to think of it as taking care of yourself. And it's also, when people think of self-care, they think of like massages, they think of like things that are expensive. It does not have to be expensive. I love that Kim was like, I'm going to go out and walk and find a new hiking trail. That's free. It's there for you to enjoy. So yes, you can pay for self-care. I pay for an exercise program that I do every day, but you don't have to. There's plenty of free resources out there on YouTube. Thank God for the internet for those resources. And so it shouldn't, that's why I wanted to, at the beginning, ask you what is bringing you joy, because we need to do more of that. We need to do things that fuel us up and make us energized, especially when we are serving in the community or serving in our business. We need to take a step back and do things that fuel us up, because that's how we show up as better for our families, for our friends, and for our community. I want you to take a second to think about an instance when you are engaged, energized, enjoying life, and what are you doing? I want you to take a moment to write that down. Think about it. A time when you're engaged, energized, and enjoying life, what are you doing? And you can feel free to share it out loud or share it in the chat box. Decluttering, that's a good one, Judy. It's very gratifying. Awesome. Thank you for sharing. On my run, listening to music, having a great meal with friends. That's always a good one. Outside exercising. Yes, I love. And gardening. That's one of my goals this year, is to pick up gardening. I keep saying that every year, but I'm making it a thing. An outdoor garden.
I highly recommend the Sherman Library and Garden for some of their gardening classes. And also Rogers Garden has free fun classes on the weekend mornings. So it's fun. I kind of learned that way myself. I'm from Indiana. We didn't do much gardening there as far as landscaping, but you know, out in California, it was a whole different environment. So, but those are two wonderful resources.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I just went to, I grew up in Newport, but I just went to the Sherman Library for the first time a couple weeks ago.
You're kidding.
Yeah.
The first time?
But it was really nice to walk around, and they have the little koi ponds and the train. So my kids had a blast. But yeah.
One of our past grant recipients, Solutions for Urban Agriculture, also has, where we had our grant committee kickoff, or our grant kickoff event was at the oh my gosh,
Farm Lab thing, right?
Thank you. The Farm and Food Lab over at the Great Park. And they do all kinds of classes too. So with sustainable gardening and all. So that's also another great resource for you gardeners out there.
Awesome.
What did you call it?
It's the Farm and Food Lab. It's at the Great Park. It's operated by a organization that Impact Giving funded in the past.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I'll
tell you about it later, Judy.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing. So one of the things that I love to do, I'm totally not a creative. You can see, okay, I'm going to talk about doing a vision board right now, but you will see this is my vision board. It's kind of sad, right? This is me being creative. I'm creative with words, not images. That's why I was a grant writer in my past life. But one of the things that I found helpful is visualizing what I want to do for the year and also visualizing what my self-care activities are. So the number one thing I have on there is simplify. And that includes, one of my goals that I need to improve is finances. And I need to simplify my life and how I spend money. So you can do this at any time, but it's always a fun activity to find positive images that inspire you. It can be in a magazine, it can be words, it can be anything that calls to you, and put it on your desk. Make whatever vision board you kind of find and put on your desk. And really focus on what makes you feel centered and brings you joy. And then as we go through this, next slide, I'm going to show you a list of self-care activities. And I want you to write down one activity that you will implement today. Or like you wrote down one thing you need to improve. Write down one thing that is calling to you and that you know that you'll be excited about and that you want to take into the new year. So before we start with that though, I want to go over the number 1 and 2 rules of self-care. I was going to put exercise, but a lot of people get daunted, especially when you're bombarded with the first 2 weeks of the new year with exercise ads and telling you need to lose the holiday weight. It's not about that. Movement in general, whatever kind of movement feels good to you. It could be cleaning your house. It could be going for a walk. It could be chasing your kids. It could be doing yoga, doing Pilates, whatever feels good for you. It can be running outside, listening to music. Do more of that. Movement is so important to your physical, mental, and emotional health. And it can help, and you can do walking meetings. Yesterday, I had a board meeting, and the only way to keep my kids contained was in a stroller. So we went on a stroller, and I was on Zoom walking around my neighborhood while I was on a meeting. And doing more things outside, taking walking meetings, taking breaks throughout your day. I think that helps you also focus if you take regular breaks to get back into it, especially if you have kind of a mental block. The other thing is sleep. I mentioned I have a 4-month-old, so I have not slept in 4 months, but I've seen, my husband and I have seen the lack of sleep, play into our lives and how we get stressed out. And so sleep is super important to your self-care. And if anything, those are the 2 things that you can implement. For me, I don't put my phone in my room. I turn off my phone. You can have limits on your phone that if you have an iPhone, you go into your general settings and you limit your phone capacity. So mine is 8 p.m. to 7 a.m. in the morning where all my apps are turned off. Sometimes I cheat and go on them, but as a rule, I try to turn my phone off at least an hour before I go to bed. And if you are sleep deprived, I read research that it's actually worse than drunk driving. So sleep is super important to your health and how you show up because you just need to prioritize sleep. So if that's going to bed earlier, creating a sleep routine, it's like washing your face, brushing your teeth, reading a book, doing a little meditation or yoga, whatever feels good to you to help you really get a good night's sleep. And doing more movement throughout the day will actually help improve your sleep as well. All right, so here are examples of self-care activities. Like I said, I want you to choose 1 to 3, no more than 3. For me, I have 3 non-negotiables that I have to do every day. And I found myself these last couple days that I didn't do 2 of them and I felt out of sorts. And I could tell like how I was showing up for my family. I was like, I have to, it's night and day difference from what taking self-care. So the thing about a self-care plan is it's unique to you. So everything you choose should, like I said, things that you would get excited about, not something that's an added to do. So for me, it's meditation, exercising, and reading or journaling. I have to do those things every day. I try to do them in the morning, um, before I start my day, but really whatever time feels good for you. I love the dance parties, do that regularly. Um, I think setting times to regularly unplug from your phone and turn off social media is important, especially because I think there's studies that your phone causes more anxiety and stress. So I try to have one day a weekend where I'm not on social media, not on my phone, so that I can really focus on being present and not worrying about all the other things that are going on in life. So if anyone wants to share in the chat box or again, speak out loud, what's the 1 to 3 things that you are going to choose to implement today?
Hi everyone. I haven't introduced myself yet, but I'm Isabella. I work for With My Own Two Hands Foundation. We've been granted by Impact Giving in the past, and we're really closely, well, I hope I'm in the right call too. I was invited to join through email, and so I hope that it's okay that I'm a part of this. But it's great to meet you all.
Absolutely, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that, but yeah, we're granting for this. We just granted for this new season, but with Jen G as our Impact Giving representative. But thank you guys for letting me join as well.
Of course.
So for what I want to really implement into my day-to-day life for self-care is really just going on walks, getting outside to move. Every day, especially with the sun setting so early still, it's sometimes hard when I get all caught up with work, but I really want to make sure that I take that time out of my day, like know that it's really important. So even if it's early in the morning, before I start my work or during a break, to get out on a walk at least once a day, because I know how valuable that is. So that's just one that I want to make sure I have every single day.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing, Isabella. And I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you. Yeah, it's so good to meet you all and hear about all of your self-care plans.
So thank you all for sharing. For next, we're going to talk about setting healthy boundaries as we develop our self-care plan. When I was talking to Christina and Kim about this, this is an important topic, especially as women and people who are serving in the community, volunteering for multiple things. It can be really hard to say no. I'm a recovering people pleaser, so saying no used to be really hard for me because I wanted to say yes to everything and be involved in everything, but I have limits and I wasn't able to, both not setting healthy boundaries, I was letting people down because I wasn't able to show up 100% because I was worrying about all the other things that I had to do. But I wanted to be involved in everything. So one of the things that really helped me understand like the purpose of setting healthy boundary is recognizing your needs and your limits and being okay with that, and knowing that you can ask for help, but you can also establish healthy boundaries so that you can say hell yeah to things that are important to you. And the way that I found this to be super helpful, you're here with Impact Giving, we're about to do the grant reviews, and each nonprofit has a mission, vision, and values. And their mission, vision, and values is what guides their direction, what guides their decision making, what guides what they say yes to, what they say no to, what programs they take on. And so I've implemented that into my own life, where I have implemented a mission, vision, and values that are super important to me and guide each of my decisions. So I did this practice about 6 months ago, and that is what led me to actually leave my job. I love giving children hope. I loved what they did, but one of my main values is being present and family. And so in this season with 202, I knew that I had to prioritize those or else I would feel out of alignment. And so I had to set those healthy boundaries for myself. It wasn't easy. I didn't like it, but I felt at peace with it because I knew that that was living in alignment with what I knew to be my guiding force, which was my mission, my vision for my life, and my values. And so it creating a personal mission and vision is super important. It will help you transform your purpose into action. So it'll help you show up for what matters to you, set boundaries, and drive you to your ideal self and your ideal future. So as we're developing the self-care plan, we're developing how we want to be our best in our community, in our daily lives. And so this will help you with a guiding light of where you want to go and how you want to do it. So it'll also help you prioritize because it is connected to your passions and purpose. So as you're volunteering and like showing up, you can say no to things that, you know, don't really strike like a passion in you. But then you can go and volunteer somewhere that everyone has different passions and we don't have to be all passionate about everything, right? But go do more of what brings you joy, because then you'll show up 100% and you'll get more fulfilled from that. I always say, you know, when you go to serve, you're getting served more. You're getting more poured into you because of what you're learning. And like I said, if you don't set boundaries, you're likely to become resentful and exhausted. I would show up for things and be like, I don't want to be here. Like, this sucks. Like, do I have to go? But once I set my mission and vision, I knew that I had something to fall back on and say, okay, I know that I can say no up front because this is what really matters to me. And then I would say you need to ask for it and be upfront with what your boundaries are. So if it's in the workplace, for me, early on when I had a kid, it was I would work all day, then have 5 to 7 would be my dinner and wind down routine with my kids. So I would say, don't email me during that time. I will, and I also had people who would call me at 10 o'clock at night, and I said, that's my bedtime. So I'll email you in the morning. But I think especially as leaders or people in different positions, we have to set those boundaries. We have to be examples of what those boundaries are, so that other people can use those examples. I had someone who I would email at 7 o'clock at night and she'd be like, do I have to respond right away? And I'm like, no, like I'm just getting it off my head. But then I realized I had to just write it down and email her at an appropriate time so that she knew that I wasn't overstepping her boundaries. So the most important part, like I said, of any developing a self-care plan is to have fun and be creative. It's something you naturally want to incorporate in your life. So Isabella, if that is walking more, then get out and do it. Even if it's, I always like the Atomic Habits by James Clear is one of my favorite books of 2021, but it's the 2-minute rule. So it's literally like, first put on your shoes, then go out and walk for 2 minutes, and you'll find that you want to walk for more.
Yeah, that's a really good rule. Yeah, because that's usually the hardest part, is just like starting it, like getting myself out. And then sometimes I even find myself, then going on a run when I didn't plan on that. So
yeah, it's a great rule. The name is Atomic Habits.
thank you.
That's like the idea that you only have to be brave for 5 seconds. Like if you're afraid of something, just take that first step and then like you just keep going. So I like that. I like that a lot. Because I'm looking outside and it looks cold out there and I'm like, oh, I don't want to go for a walk. But I put my shoes on and I'll do it.
Yeah. Then just start with 2 minutes and then you'll find you want to walk more, Just step
Absolutely.
out, maybe just step outside the door and then maybe your feet will just continue taking you forward.
You're smiling, Susan. What are you thinking of?
Okay. Every time I think about habits, and that's been a big thing because I'm changing. I am on, I don't want to call it a diet for maybe the last time because I'm just not doing this anymore. So I have to figure out and break the habits, but it's always break the habits. It's not go for a new habit. So turning it on its head just really was like, hello. Because 2 minutes or 5 seconds, or I'm not that difficult. I'm not that deep. Yeah, I speaking of not that deep and thinking I have a sense of humor or trying, nobody gets it, but I enjoy it. I was thinking David Sedaris and how his comment is if I don't journal the day, I don't know what it was, kind of thinking, and how important journaling is to him. And to me, that's what I thought to bring into the new year was to journal. And it could be one thing or another, but it was also to find the humor in the day. And it could be something that was the worst thing in the day. But look at it. What made me crack up? When did I feel that giggle? Or whatever the joy is that you could translate to joy. Yeah. So anyway, Atomic Habits. I'm gonna just start laughing at eating standing up.
There you go.
Or
Do squats while you're eating.
hand with a spoon to get food to my mouth. Yes. Yeah. It's just this too shall pass. So move on. I love that I was invited, Kim. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thanks
Yeah.
for sharing.
And to everybody here.
Susan, I love that you said you want to find more moments of joy because I love that. I think we get to choose our perspectives of our days. And if you get to see more joy in it or the giggles, you can laugh about it, find more gratitude in your day. I think it's just all around better. So I love that. You can laugh. I think that's good for the soul.
Mm-hmm. Not take things so seriously sometimes.
Mhm.
I like it.
All right. So we're all in this group and we've all kind of talked about what our goals are a little bit. And so it doesn't have to be in this group, but find an accountability partner, someone who you trust, who will keep you accountable and can text you to make sure that you're getting out on a walk, or find someone that'll go on the walk with you because doing it together is often more fun. Unless you need a solo walk, which is also good too. And just throw on a podcast. I like listening to books like Atomic Habits on audiobook. I always like reading books, but recently I've gotten into more audiobooks and it's kind of like a podcast. So it's a good one. But I mean, I've seen different self-care strategies in here and new ideas that I love that I want to implement. So you can brainstorm ideas, how you can make yourself accountable, because you want to do this as a daily routine and not just until January 31st or next week, which most resolutions, I'm not a resolution fan either, but most resolutions fizzle out by the third week. So something that you will show up for yourself, you will do more joy, because when you feel more joyful, everything around you is filled with more joy. So, like we said in the beginning, we're going to scream it again. We're going to scream, I'm worth it, because I want you to make a commitment to yourself today. how can you take care of yourself so that you can take care of others? What is one step you can take today to make you happier and more fulfilled? Because after all, they say on airplanes, you need to put your oxygen mask on first before you can put it on others. So take a moment, think it over, then make a personal commitment to your own self-care. And we're gonna scream it again on the count of 3. I am worth it. 1, 2, 3. I am worth it.
I'm worth it.
And that is all.
Haley, thank you so much. And here is your information. So if anyone wants to reach out to Haley, Haley, that's okay, I'm assuming.
Yeah, so I put it there.
Yeah, I mean, this was so helpful, and I know we've all enjoyed it. And seeing you today, and I mean, Haley, that's why I think these are so wonderful, our partner connections. So Haley is a new partner. She explained she joined here in 2021. She's a new junior partner. But for our partner connections, we're having other women come in and share about their experiences, which I think is wonderful. We get to hear from one another and learn from one another. I know our big grant season is coming up. And so for those of you who have not joined the grant committee, is it too late, Kim? Have we already?
It is, yeah, it closed last week.
Okay,
Closed last week.
But the great part is we have our award ceremony, and that is in June. And my cousin Karen Grunhofer, she's on the call. She's the one that took me to the first award ceremony a couple of years ago. And that's when I fell in love with impact giving. I knew I couldn't give a grant to an organization for $25,000, but together we can do that. And just like Haley, I worked for a nonprofit for a number of years in Santa Ana. And so I know the impact that 5,000, 10,000, 15, 25,000 can make on these nonprofits. So it's been through our grant committee, through the process, we get to learn about other nonprofits. And then we have our own organization, our own relationships with them too. So if anyone has questions about impact giving, I would be more than happy to answer them. And I know Kim's always available as well, so one of us. But Haley, thank you so much for your time and being here today and sharing with us our self-care plan and boundaries and how important they are for all of us. I know I saw Tanya on the call, and she is going to be doing our partner connection next month. We're going to do the same format. It's going to be a noon lunchtime Zoom, and Tanya's on, she's smiling. So we're talking tomorrow, but it's going to be a great, another great partner connection next month on developing your self brand and kind of overcoming imposter syndrome. So I really like the idea of us taking care of ourselves and how can we promote ourselves as women. So thank you, Haley, and Tanya, we're excited to have you next month.
And I'll just say to Isabella and everyone else, our events are open to everyone. So you don't have to be a partner. We, of course, would love for you to join, but whether you're part of a nonprofit or just find something we're doing interesting, you're always welcome. And while our grant committees are closed, even if you do join in the near term, you get to vote in May on what your favorite first, second, and third choice is. So you can still participate in the process, just not on a committee itself. So
thank you so much. And thank you guys for being so inclusive to the rest of the community. And I'm glad I got that email. I was like, yeah, I'll join. So thank you all. It was, it's lovely to meet you guys.
well, great. And thanks for what you do with My Own Two Hands. It's a great organization. And so many of them are.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you, everyone. This was fabulous.
Thanks.
Thank
And
you.
thanks, Haley. Really appreciate you sharing your expertise.
Mhm.
All right,
Thank you,
ladies, until
everyone,
next
for
month.
the nice warm welcome. And I look forward to learning more about impact giving and engaging with these amazing women. So thank you so much. It's always nice to get, like you said, that vision board. And it's just great the beginning of the year to set your goals. And it's really nice to be with like-minded women. So thank you so much. And I look forward to the next event.
All right. Take care.
Have a good
Bye-bye.
day.
Take care.
Bye, ladies.